This pensioner dreamed of jumping off Niagara Falls in a barrel her entire youth, and in 1901, at the age of 63, she fulfilled her dream. Students at Augustana College react to the not guilty verdict of O.J. Simpson's murder trial, October 3, 1995. Women cannibals, USSR, 1920s. Packed billiard ball sets made from ivory. The billiard craze almost led to the extinction of elephants, as often an entire elephant was killed to make just 5 billiard balls. In the 1930s, a woman's pregnancy was determined by inserting her urine into frogs. If, after 15 hours, the frog started laying eggs, it meant the woman was pregnant. Brazilian gold rush, 1980s. U.S. troops invaded Panama, allegedly to protect 35,000 American citizens, but in reality to overthrow the government and regain control of the Panama Canal. The photo shows fighting near the Ministry of Defense of Panama, 1989. Preparing a slave for sale, USA, 19th century. A man stole a military tank from the U.S. Army and drove it on the highway in San Diego, USA, 1995. A soldier equipped with a helmet with chainmail to protect his eyes from shell fragments, stones, and other debris, USA, 1918. One of the warehouses filled to the ceiling with victims' shoes, Auschwitz, Poland, 1944. Grandmothers with tattoos. The photo shows elderly women with tattoos, a cultural tradition among Croatian Catholics in the region, central Bosnia, around 1930. 5-year-old Lena Medina, the youngest mother in the world, holding her baby shortly after birth, Peru, 1939. The last veterans and witnesses of the 1812 war between the Russians and Napoleon Bonaparte at the centennial celebration of the Battle of Borodino, Russian Empire, 1912. A fine receipt for believing in God, USSR, 1974. The population hides in a swamp during the Vietnam War. Let's make friends. A speech by Adolf Hitler to the world community, February 29, 1936. There is the fattest man in the world. This is what a freak show poster claimed in 1890. Interestingly, in our time, this is a quite common physique. The slogan of French students in 1968, humanity will find true happiness only when the last bureaucrat is hanged with the guts of the last capitalist. One of the most influential drug barons in history, Pablo Escobar, at Disneyland, 1981. The surrender of the Japanese naval base Kurihara, located on the island of Honshu, 1945. A Japanese man hands his sword to an American with a severe violation of sword etiquette, the hilt under the right arm and the sharp blade facing forward. From the Japanese perspective, he is deeply insulting the American. The American doesn't care and isn't even aware. Prayer for peace, 100,000 monks praying, Thailand. Evelyn Smith, a former stripper, was hired by a jealous woman to kill her lover, USA, 1935. Fijian Chief Udre Udri, the most gluttonous cannibal in the world. He ate nothing but human flesh and consumed no fewer than 900 people throughout his life. One of many variants of Vietnamese combat traps. When an American soldier fell into such a pit, his own weight would turn him into mince. Bulgarian peasants using an elephant for field work, 1900. A man guards his house during mass riots over racial segregation, Chicago, 1919. The start of the one-legged World War I veterans race, New York, 1918. For 2,000 years, the people of Sagada in the Philippines have avoided burying their dead. Instead, they hang coffins high on cliffs, believing that the higher the body is placed, the closer the soul is to heaven. Integrating black students will turn schools into jungles, into racial jungles, said a young Joe Biden in 1977. Marilyn Monroe detained for driving without a license, 1954. Cedar Log Lumberyard in Seattle, 1939. Protest against the Vietnam War, British artillerymen, Kent, UK, 1940. An air raid caught an amateur theater troupe during rehearsal with no time to change into uniforms. Albert Einstein's desk, photographed just hours after his death, 1955. Escape by swimming, 1966. A mother and children from South Vietnam attempt to swim across a river to escape an attack during Operation Piranha. When the photo won a Pulitzer Prize, photographer Kyuchi Sawada went searching for the family in the photo and ultimately gave them half of the winnings. Barack Obama visiting his step-grandmother Sarah Ogwell Onyango Obama, Kenya, 1988. Combating cheating during exams, Netherlands, 1950s. White cafe-goers cruelly cover a black girl and two of her supporters with flour and drinks for daring to sit at the counter in defiance of old racist traditions, 1963. The coronation of Bokassa, the emperor of the Central African Republic. 1/3 of the country's budget was spent on it, and among the refreshments was the meat of his political opponents. American prisoners of war liberated from a Japanese concentration camp, Philippines, 1945. In 1938, London post offices allowed mailing ducks, rabbits, etc. ended when blood-stained packages started arriving. 19-year-old David Isom walked through a white-only pool, after which officials closed the facility. Florida, 1958. Berta Baranda, 5 years in prison for cutting off her husband's member for cheating, USA, 1907. Sailors saluting a war veteran, Leningrad, 1989. In ancient Greece, particularly in Thebes, homosexuality was not considered shameful. An elite unit of 300 men, lovers of each other, was formed, called the Sacred Band of Thebes. In 338 BCE, the entire unit perished in the Battle of Chaeronea. Punishment of a soldier of the Russian Imperial Army with rods in a rear unit for disobeying an officer's order, 1916. In 1918, Frances Griffiths and her cousin photographed what they claimed were real fairies and became famous overnight. It wasn't until 1983 that it was revealed this was the world's very first major hoax. The DeLorean DMC-12 and the filming crew of the movie Back to the Future, USA, 1985. Weapons confiscated from passengers at an airport, Russia, 1991. Men from the Babira tribe, they believed that twisting the upper lip in such a manner was very beautiful and attractive to women, Belgian Congo, 1924. Victorian baby bottle, meant to simplify breastfeeding, impossible to clean properly, it caused a rise in infant deaths and earned the nickname murder bottle, Dalsedan, Dalsturur, Dalsturur. A competition for the most elegant cigarette smoking, Paris, 1935. A resident of a small tribe in the mountains of New Guinea shocked upon seeing a white man for the first time in his life. Until 1930, these natives believed they were the only people on Earth. This photograph, along with many others, captures the devastating consequence of war, famine, Africa, 1992. Children playing among weapons in the ruins of Nazi Germany, spring 1945. Ethel Granger from the UK, the woman with the world's smallest waist, 1939. She was entered into the Guinness Book of Records for her 13-inch waist. According to eyewitnesses, she did this to please her husband. The Real Batman, 1892. The photo shows Bill Smith, a butcher who fought off thieves and patrolled the streets of New York at night looking for criminals. 5-year-old Warren runs away from his mother to his father, Private Jack Bernard, shouting, "Wait for me, Dad," during the British Columbia Regiment March, October 1st, 1940. A procedure for removing freckles using dry ice, 1930s. Beauty treatments of the past were often painful and unsafe. A photo of 2 NASA engineers inside a hangar the size of a 10-story building where blocks with flaps guide the air around the aerodynamic tube at the Ames Research Center, 1960. A comradeship trial over a woman who didn't want to work and pretended to be ill, USSR, 1935. The man behind the blocks, Alexei Pajitnov, the inventor of the legendary game Tetris. Ku Klux Klan members preparing to scatter propaganda literature from a plane in the air, USA, 1922. Unit 731 conducted experiments on Chinese women who were raped, impregnated, and purposefully infected with syphilis to see if the disease would be passed on hereditarily. The musicians who played on the Titanic until the very end, 1912. Soviet soldiers by Hitler's Globe, 1945. The early 1920s saw the peak of sexual liberation and freedom. Numerous unions and organizations began to emerge, promoting a new cultural value, the cult of the nude body. Group portrait of a women's hockey team, Canada, 1916. Mona Lisa being retrieved from a wartime hiding place, 1945. The painting was saved from Nazi looting. Traces left by drops that fell in the same spot for 700 years. Photo from the Castel Nuovo Castle, built in 1282 in Naples, Italy. In 1911, two traveling brothers, Lewis and Temple Abernathy, were offered $10,000 if they rode from New York to San Francisco, 27.96 miles in 60 days. According to the contract, Lewis and Temple had to sleep and eat exclusively outdoors. Unfortunately, the brothers didn't win the reward. They arrived in 62 days. Still, it's worth noting the older one was 11 and the younger one was 7. This photograph, taken on March 17, 1973, became a symbol of the end of the Vietnam War. In the frame, U.S. Lieutenant Colonel Robert Sturm reunites with his family after 5 years of captivity in North Vietnam. Notorious African dictator Francisco Nguema ordered the execution of his regime's opponents on Christmas 1975 in a unique way. 150 people were shot by soldiers dressed as Santa Claus on a football field to music. In 1979, Nguema was overthrown and executed. Majdanek Death Camp, 1944. Soviet soldiers stand before a massive pile of human teeth. A 19th century gun for hunting waterfowl, capable of killing around 50 birds with one shot. James Naismith, Canadian-American inventor of basketball, with his wife, 1928. Marine reservists practicing an amphibious landing in Coronado and an unfazed man relaxing, 1978. Kashmir giants with traveler Professor Rickleton, India, 1903. Crossbow arrows in the skull of a man who fell during the battle for the Swedish city of Visby, Gotland Island, in 1361. 11-year-old Grace Bedell from Westfield, New York, wrote to Lincoln advising him to grow a beard to look more appealing and win a bet, which her brothers promised to vote for him if he did. Cossacks trained to overcome obstacles on horseback, 1910. People going to a rally and leaving after the rally. Poster, Russian Empire, 1917. Passers-by study a new map of Europe after World War I, 1918. Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary, the first to conquer Everest, 1953. An ancient bloodletting tool from 1850. This practice was common in Europe and Russia until the mid-19th century and was considered a primary treatment for many ailments. Ma Barker, the mother of all American gangsters, organized the Barker Gang. She was killed along with her son Fred in a fierce hours-long shootout with FBI agents who surrounded her home in 1935. Dog-drawn carts in 1920s Belgium. With horse shortages, over 15,000 carts were pulled by dogs. Post-mortem photography, late 19th century. The mother and father are blurred. Their daughter is not. She's dead, but they wanted to capture her as a memory. Beware of vicious dog. Sign, 1940s. 7 Native Americans were brought to Europe as new residents of a human zoo, 1889. A nightclub in Paris where everyone chooses the music they want to dance to by tuning it in their headphones, 1963. In the 1960s, Boeing nearly went bankrupt before realizing it needed to carry more passengers on smaller planes. The scale of repression in the USSR knew no bounds. In 1938, 502 people were executed in one day, including 3 cleaners. 3 poor elderly women were declared enemies of the people. John Snow, an English doctor from the 19th century who single-handedly uncovered the causes of the cholera epidemic, but other doctors did not believe in his theories. Beluga caught in the Volga River, 1921. Goalkeeper Sam Bertram stands alone, unaware that the game was stopped 15 minutes ago due to fog, 1937. This 1959 photo captures the participants of the famous Dyatlov Pass expedition heading into the snowy mist. It is their last known photograph before the tragic events, which remain one of the most mysterious mysteries of the 20th century. Wounded when a mine blew up his Jeep, an ambulance driver sobbed by the side of the road after learning that a friend was killed in the blast. Korea, 1950. Before anesthesia, speed was very important in performing surgeries to minimize the patient's pain. Robert Liston was considered the fastest surgeon of his time. Once, Liston amputated a patient's leg in 28 seconds, accidentally cutting off his assistant's fingers. Both the patient and the assistant died from sepsis, and one witness to the operation died from shock, making this the deadliest surgery in history. If this video brought a smile or maybe even some anger, share your opinion in the comments. Stay locked in for the upcoming part. Remember to smash that like button and subscribe for more. Goodbye.